IBM Netezza Performance Server V11.x Administrator C1000-085 Real Q&As are the best guides for you to pass the test easily. 1. To enable or disable multiple schema support on the IBM Netezza Performance Server, which configuration file needs to be updated? A. System.cfg. B. PG_HBA. Conference. C. PostgreSQL. Conference. D. Startup.cfg. 2. When is a primary key (PK) table constraint evaluated during an insert statement into the table? A. The PK constraint is never checked when a row is inserted into the table. B. After the row is inserted into the table. C. Before the row is inserted into the table. D. The PK constraint is only checked during a generate statistics operation. 3. When restoring a database using NC Restore utility, which is true for the NPS host option? A. It is the hostname of the storage server. B. It is a hostname value set in backup hostname.txt file on the backup source system. C. It is a hostname of the target system to restore a database to. D. It is a remote hostname or IP address of the system to connect to. 4. Which log file provides a DBA with an actual SQL statement that was executed? A. Client mgr.log. B. pg.log. C. sysmgr.log. D. dbos.log. 5. Which statement is accurate regarding snippets? A. The number of snippets depends on query and complexity. B. Every query is always turned into 4 snippets. C. Every query is always turned into 1 snippet. D. The number of snippets is always based on the size of the system. 6. Which 2 commands can be used to get a plan file for a query? A. nzsqlc, show plan file. B. nzsqlc, select plan _text from _v _plan. C. nzsqlc, get plan file. dnz _get enz _plan. 7. When integrating IBM Spectrum Protect into IBM Netezza Performance Server (NPS) for backup and restore, how must the NPS host be defined? A. As a client of the Storage Manager server. B. As the primary Storage Manager server. C. As the primary backup target. D. As a cloud storage repository. 8. What happens to NFS mounts after a container failover? A. NFS is handled by Red Hat OpenShift and does not need to be mounted. B. sysmgr will remount it as part of the IBM Netezza Performance Server environment. C. Containers do not allow for NFS mounts. D. It will be automatically mounted by the IPS NFS service. 9. When computing the row size for a table row, what overhead should be accounted for? A. 48 bytes for ROWID, CREATEXID and DELETEXID only. B. 32 bytes for ROWID, createexid, DELETEXID and the null vector. Circa 32 bytes for ROWID. CREATEXID and DELETEXID, and a variable number of bytes for the null vector if there are nullable columns. D. 24 bytes for ROWID. CREATEXID and DELETEXID plus null vector if there are nullable columns and record header depending on string columns. 10. What is the maximum length of a varchar column? A. 65.535, B. 32.000, circa 64,000, D. 16.000.